guys? I'm Alex.
I'm Jason. We're the Table Monkeys, and today we are going to talk about recovery work because we just got back from
the Club Mantis Invitational.
Yeah.
One of the best arm wrestling tournaments I've ever been to. It's like 25 plus matches, and then obviously a ton of after pulling afterwards.
Yeah, after pulling is obviously what caused the most of the damage.
Yeah.
I only had one match on right, and though I made a bunch of mistakes as far as like physical exertion, it was relatively easy. But all the after pulling, both arms destroyed.
Yeah.
Both arms destroyed. Your right arm was destroyed going in there. You were getting pinned by some people you shouldn't be getting pinned by.
Yeah, that's true. They will remain nameless for now.
Yeah, but you got some challenges you might take up on just for easy money.
I wasn't going in there to prove anything. I was training hard the entire week because I'm looking forward to or training for the BAL, which is 2 weeks from now. So I came in beat up and was just looking to get another training session in, and definitely got beat up. But the day after we pull, we always do recovery work to help facilitate recovery. And so
just
we're going to
prep us for the week of lifting that we want to be able to do, right?
Yeah.
To be able to repeat, rinse, recycle, and repeat our program from week to week.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about our recovery sessions today and also our hand vector circuits, which we do on top of our regular gym workouts.
Yeah, so the hand vectors we mix in at different parts during the week. We try to get them in like 3 days roughly throughout the week. Sometimes we don't get them in even that much, but we get them in every week at least a bit.
I would say I get them in 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah, I might be slacking on the hand vectors recently, but they are important. So we're going to show you both of those things, even though we didn't do them on the same day, just because they kind of work together.
Yeah.
Okay, so first is the hand vectors,
right?
Let's
start with hand vectors. Is going to be my hand vector circuit, and we do pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, we do the exact same workout. We just it depends on how we lay it out, which we're going to talk about why that might be a little different.
Yeah, so I do everything in a circuit style. It's 4 exercises, and it's always high rep because I'm just trying to get consistent effort in over time. And so I start with the multi-spinner, my favorite tool, and I do the high angle. I do the high angle first because that's my biggest weakness. So I want to make my priority, and so I want to put it at the beginning of my workout.
Yeah.
So multi-spinner high, I have it off at a high angle because that's the most realistic to pulling out a table, and it challenges my riser even more.
Yeah.
And then I do multi-spinner low, and so I also do the multi-spinner to the side because I feel like it attacks my thumb more, which is what I want. And then I do the multi-spinner low, more facing the pan, so it's more like dragging. But I do support my arm, so it's isolated.
Yeah, you can see in the video clearly that he's supporting his arm, and the reason for doing that is because we don't want to actually stress any of the ligaments or tendons in the elbow or in the shoulder at this point, because they're probably so fatigued, or should be so fatigued from pulling, right?
Yes.
But by doing this motion with our hands, it's going to facilitate blood flow through that whole area, which is the purpose of these exercises.
Definitely. So after the multi-spinner, and I'm doing that with a band. If I had a pulley, I would definitely use a pulley, but a band works just fine, especially when it's just for light, not like tons of repetition.
And it depends on where you are. Like now that the gyms are open, sometimes it might work out that you end up doing that at the gym.
Yep, sometimes I do. Yep.
So it can be done. It doesn't really matter as long as it's lightweight that you can do for a bunch of reps. You're not really trying to measure progression or anything with these lifts. Like Alex said, you're just trying to get in lots of work over time.
So after the multi-spinner with the low attachment, targeting more my supination and chop, I move over to using the hammer. And hammer training is awesome because you don't have to use a ton of weight, but it really attacks your wrist pretty intensely.
But it also challenges your containment a little bit as well, which we really like.
Yeah, that's why I put a fat grip on, so it challenges my containment even more.
Yeah.
And Rick Heidebrick, one of the best pullers in Ontario, uses the hammer a lot, and that's one of the biggest inspirations we had for starting to train this way.
Yeah, for sure, the reason that we started using it more.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think Paul Lynn loves it as well.
Yeah.
So I do rising and chopping with the hammer.
Yeah.
I'm supporting my arm again, so it's completely isolated. I've got my elbow resting on my knee, and I want my forearm basically parallel with the ground, so I have as much tension as possible, and I'm not taking advantage of unfair leverage. So I'm doing riser. I'm also kind of letting it fall to the side, so I'm getting a little bit pronation action while I'm doing it, and it feels amazing. And just 2.5 pounds on the end of the hammer, so it's again super light, and I'm doing 40 reps for that. And then I move on to chopping. I have my elbow up here, and I don't need to support it because there really isn't a lot of musculature supporting this, except maybe my shoulder, but it is so light that I don't feel it. And chopping, obviously for this part of the arm, so it's kind of the opposite of the riser. So I'm getting a full spectrum of wrist training. And again, 40 reps for that, and that completes the circuit. Those 4 exercises, I usually do that 3 times. Take a little bit of a break in between each round. Yeah. And that's it.
And there's a lot of different ways that you can use this circuit. So like just the little differences that I do. I start with the rise and chop just because I prefer to prioritize rise over everything else. And then the other thing is when you do it. So like I'm liking now that I'm gonna do it as a warm-up and a cool down to my main movements throughout the week. So like my bicep and shoulder day, my tricep day, and then my chest and back day. Like my beginning and end to those workouts, warm up and cool down, will be 1 round of the exact same thing that you do, just starting with rise and chop and going through the circuit once. And if I do that every day, again, it's just about building up reps over time. It doesn't matter when you do them. You can do them right before bed, right when you wake up.
Yep.
Just get them in throughout the week, and they're really going to make a difference.
Yep. And as we said in our previous video about how pulling is our max effort day for arms, chest, and back, it's also our max effort day for wrist and hand, right? So I don't need to do max effort hand vector training during the week.
And in reality, max effort hand training is really dangerous, and not I wouldn't program it in to training unless you really had nobody that you could pull with, and even then the lifts,
it would have to be very compound. You couldn't do an isolation max effort, because then you're at risk of tearing one of these very small muscle groups or tendons. So that's why we do it high rep and isolation.
It's pretty much the only way that we work our wrists continuously throughout the week, unless they're involved in a bigger, like Alex said, compound movement. So now recovery work, right?
So now we'll move on to recovery work, which we do after pulling, the day after pulling and the day before pulling, right?
That's the way the program, which we'll throw up here for a second, as you can see the way the week is laid out. We always just put our pulling day as the first part of the week, and then there's a recovery day right after that, and then you can see at the very end of the week, day 7 is another recovery day. So it's the same routine every day. I think ours may vary a little bit, but we're going to show my routine, and then Alex can talk about what he does different. I like to start with what I call monster rolls, which you've definitely seen the monster Michael Todd do many times. So it's just a piece of PVC pipe that fits over the pin and over the bar, and then I attach a kettlebell to it and just do reverse rolls and then forward rolls. And because it's my recovery day, I prefer to prioritize the reverse rolls because they're the antagonist muscle. That's more what I want to work that day, and I go relatively light. I go 3 times up reverse and 3 times up forward, so it's 5 times up and down each round. And then I move on to a JM press. And so the first thing, basically, like prescribed by Michael Todd. The second exercise prescribed by Todd Hutchins, right? So the JM press, it is amazing for the elbows. So I find the monster rolls really rehab my wrist, and then the JM press really is going to rehab my elbows. So you can see the main thing with doing the JM press is that it's basically a combination between a tricep extension and a skull crusher and a close grip bench press, or like the top of a bench press. So you're basically bringing the bar down like you're doing a bench press, and then right as your elbows start to bend, you let just your elbows bend and your shoulders don't move. The bar comes towards your face, and once you can feel your forearms and biceps kind of touching and pressing together, you press back through with your elbows and press up like you're trying to lock your elbows out. And then the other thing that Todd does that I think really helps and relates to arm wrestling is changing the angle of your elbows. So I go 25 reps with a medium grip, then I go 15 reps wide and 15 reps close. And again, I just do the bar because this is similar to the hand vectors. It's just about building volume over time, at least on this day. On the tricep day, we do heavy JM presses, but on our recovery days, we want to work that antagonist muscle and work those antagonist ligaments and joints.
And just main thing, get blood flow in there and help facilitate recovery. So we're not trying to build hypertrophy from this day at all.
And one of the other things about changing the angle on the grip position on the bar is it really attacks your wrist a little bit differently, or stresses your wrist a little different. So it rehabs your wrist in a different way, going to all 3 positions.
I also feel it differently in my elbow.
100%.
How what the position of my hands are.
100%. Okay, so then moving on to my shoulders. So basically, you can see I kind of like move up the arm, right? I start with my wrists, which is probably the most the most vital part to arm wrestling, and also the smallest muscle group, and get the most like damage from pulling. So because everything's going through the arm and then, or through the wrist and then up the arm. So I work that first, then the elbows, and now the shoulders. So when you're arm wrestling, you're doing tons of internal rotation, so you've got to work that external rotation. And the first exercise, we kind of call it like reverse side pressure, and it's just straight external rotation, the opposite angle on my elbow and on my shoulder that I'm going when I'm pulling inside. And if you'll notice, I'm using a spinning handle, and I'm trying to make sure to kick back my wrist on every repetition, so I'm getting more of that wrist extension to be the antagonist from all the flexion that we do from the arm wrestling. And then I do another external rotation, which I just call like a lateral external rotation. And again, that's because we're internally rotating and downwardly rotating our shoulders so much in arm wrestling that I want to just open it up completely the opposite way the day after and the day before to facilitate all that antagonist muscle groups.
These exercises are a must, I think, for helping
if
your
you
shoulder stay fucking healthy. If you don't do these exercises, your shoulders are going to be in pain and you will risk injury.
Even if you don't think that you're in pain or you don't notice it, try these exercises, try them for a month and see how you feel. You will feel better, guaranteed. Like free multi-spinner if you don't. I'm just joking because you're gonna lie about it to get a free multi-spinner. Okay, and then the last thing, more tricep again, because everything is elbow flexion, and also I add a chop into it to counter all the rising that we do the day of pulling. So I do a tricep extension with a chop, and I like to use the rope and tie a knot at the end of it, because then I don't really have to grip it. I can hold my hand kind of like I'm trying to contain somebody, and then just use my wrist and just extend and really chop at the end, and I'm pushing into that knot as opposed to like gripping and trying to like hang on to the attachment.
Right.
And that one, the last, the external rotation and the triceps, those are both sets of 15. And I do this the same way as the hand vectors, and I think you do your recovery the same thing, a circuit, right?
Yep.
So we run this like a circuit. We'll run through all the exercises, take a break, usually a minute and a half, get some water, anything to keep the mask off, and then back to another circuit, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so my circuit's pretty much the same. I also include a little bit of shrugging, because I feel like the pulling of my shoulder down helps my shoulder feel great, and a little trap work feels nice. And then I also do some hanging just to also helps my shoulder feel good, and to stretch out my lats, which gets super tight after pulling, as well as like my whatever this muscle is called, my teres minor. So yeah, I include those two exercises, but everything is basically the same, and circuit style.
In reality, I do that lat stuff when I warm up with the band. I do something like that, and I did actually coincidentally incorporate farmer's walk this week, because I just felt like, hey, that's gonna feel good. And then he told me he shrugs, and it's like, wow, great minds, eh?
And another thing is these recovery sessions make you feel so good. I actually started doing one round before every workout just to warm up. So I'll do this as a general warm up, and then I'll do my specific warm up where I'm like doing the actual exercise but lighter weight to warm up.
That's so similar to how I do my hand vectors for my warm up. You're doing your recovery session.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I actually did that a lot before. For a while, I would do my recovery work as a warm up, like throughout the week, as opposed to doing it on a specific day. So again, there's so many different ways you can kind of modify this program to fit what it is, like how your week is scheduled, how you do what you do, or what your weaknesses or strengths are. And these two things that we went over today, again, the hand vectors, do them whenever and however you can, and then the recovery work, try to do it the day before and the day after your heavy pulling session. And we're going to go over biceps and shoulders next. That'll be the video coming out, should hopefully be at the end of this week.
Yep, and then we'll continue on and finish the rest of the program. So those are the hand vectors and recovery session. We hope you liked it and got some valuable information out of it.
Leave feedback in the comments. Let us know what else you want to see. Ask us some questions about it, and share, comment. I said comment, so.
And you didn't say like though, so like the video.
Okay, definitely do that.
And
bell button, smash that thing.
Yeah. And apart from that, monkeys out.
Yeah, thanks again to Club Mantis. Monkeys out. Peace.